Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and evolve the modern-day deer hunter.
Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Copenhagen. I almost pulled the trigger on that sawtooth jacket. I like that.
I didn't know you bought the puffy jacket.
No, I didn't get it. I was looking at that one, and the price wasn't that bad for.
Meekoff had that at Rendezvous. I was like, that is a nice jacket.
I think I'm gonna get that next year.
Nice. First Light puffy.
Yeah, it's nice, dude.
Oh God, dog.
I want it.
I like that fusion camo pattern that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk real quick. We're kind of just passing some time until a couple guys get here. We're going to do a show.
We're in a lull.
But I wouldn't call it a lull. God, we could get into that too, man. I got some opinions on what I've been hearing about all that. We'll get into that on the next one. What I wanted to do is talk traditional bow hunting. We haven't really talked much about it at all.
No. It is,
but
I'm all about it.
Been a journey for you this year, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Especially being out of the archery game for 10 plus years.
Yeah, and you decided that you weren't going to get back into the compounds and all the jazz and all the tech and this and that.
After we shunned the Buckmaster right out of this ferry.
She's still crying in her wee pillow each night.
So you decided to go trad, which worked out good because, you know, I've been hunting. I started last year hunting with a longbow. And do you feel confident you could kill a deer with it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so. Definitely.
What's your effective range, would you say?
I'm up to 20.
Yeah.
I wouldn't push it past there, and just get a lot more time under my belt with taking. I don't think I would take any longer shots on 25 with it though.
Are you shooting split finger or 3 under?
I do split finger.
Yeah. So 1 above, 2 below for anybody that doesn't traditionally bow hunt or has never shot a bow besides anything with a trigger release. You can shoot 3 under, which is 3 fingers under your nock, or split finger, which is 1 above, 2 below.
Yeah, I started off shooting old dart and recurve, a 35 pounder when I was 8 years old, and I shot that. I think I was 12 or 13 and got a bear compound and got the Buckmaster when I was 14. I think I only hunted with that till I was 17. Just stepped out of the whole archery game. And then, yeah, just been saying for years if I ever got back into it. I know you guys been asking me forever to get back into archery, and I always had in the back of my head that I'd just go strictly recurve or traditional in some form of bow over another.
Right. So what's your setup like for your arrows, your broadheads, your bow?
I got
Well, let's start at you had to get all new. I mean, you didn't have any hunting gear essentially because you were kind of outgrew everything that you did have, and then the gear that you had, your clothing, wouldn't really lend itself to doing much bow hunting, right?
No. It was pretty much impossible to do any kind of bow hunting.
Yep.
It was poofy enough. It was a struggle to let alone shoulder a rifle, let alone shoot a recurve with that stuff.
Right.
But
which is the same situation I was in last year.
Right.
Which I bought some more athletic fitting garments.
Yeah, that's the way to go if you're going to be definitely shooting any kind of...
Yeah, layering system. Something that fits better.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do it any other way. Well, I see a lot of guys wearing like flannel shirts instead of like the hardcore traditional guys. They're like
just Fred Bearing it.
Yeah, flannel shirts,
Stormy Chromers.
Stormy Chromers. Yeah. I'm not hating on them, but it's not my style.
No.
Chromer's comfortable. Yeah, it's Yeah, it was a journey. I got picked up an old bow from a buddy of mine, his old 1967 Ben Pearson recurve hunter model, 50-pounder, and my draw length's so long, I'm about 31 inches, so I'm pushing almost 60 pounds by the time I get back to my anchor point. So I've been shooting that, and, talking with you a lot about tuning arrows, the ins and outs of that, which was totally new to me. I had no concept of that, when we were little growing up.
Right.
What it all was involved with tweaking an arrow to get the fly straight and true. So picked up some of those carbon gold point blems and got them all tuned in, and got a 400 spine arrow with a 78 grain stainless insert. And then I'm shooting my field points. I got a 200 grain field point. And then for hunting, I got 160 grain Zwicky Eskimos. And I use a gold point system of
the back weight system. I don't know exactly what they call it.
I'm not sure. The kit I got, it was 12 threaded weights at 20 grains a piece. So I just replicate my 200 grain field point. I just drop 40 grains in the back there, and those Zwickies, they shoot great. It's crazy for how simple and how economical it is. They just shoot just like a regular, like I'm shooting my field points.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot to learn. Brace height, adjusting your brace height, knock height and all that. It took me a second. Brace height was a big thing that I never even had any concept of until somebody showed me about that.
Right.
And that's basically just fine tuning your recurve till you get like a recurve or longbow till you get the sweet spot. You basically getting a lot of shock when you release. Arrow's doing a certain kick. There's a way you might be able to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's adjusting your string from your riser by tightening up your string by putting more twists or less twists in one end of the string. So I'd find it was doing something. I'd be feeling a lot of shock, which meant my brace height was too low. So the string was slapping the limbs a little more than it should. So to correct that, I would take the bottom loop off my bottom limb, and I would start with 3 twists. And I put it on there, and it would take my brace height from, say, 7¼ inches to 7½ inches, which would pull that string a little further away from the limb.
Right.
And it would work. You just kind of do a little bit at a time.
Now, does that adjust your draw weight when you are compressing those limbs more in that way?
That I'm not sure of.
I would think it would increase it a little bit because you're essentially pulling the limbs taut.
Probably, yeah. You're probably starting off at a higher draw weight on your initial drawback.
Right.
But yeah, that was a big thing, learning about that, and there's still a lot I need to learn.
Me too.
But
we have no business doing a traditional
I know
bow podcast except for telling people that it's fun as hell. And
oh yeah, it's addicting, man. It's like I'm at work and it's just in my head. I just want to get home and fling some arrows before dark, and I race home and do whatever I got to do, and I'm, I do everything I can to at least shoot every single day, and it's like I'll be like, all right, 5 more arrows, all right, 5 more, okay,
right,
5 more,
right,
and it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely got that drive and determination to get good at it.
Right. Yeah, I'm shooting a 40-pound Indian archery Cochise longbow that belonged to my grandfather, that resided in his basement for years until our good friend Matt made me a string for it. I started shooting it, and same thing. I was just like drawn to wanting to try to kill a deer with it, and I just love shooting it. I've said this before, and I really feel strongly that anybody that wants to get good practice with archery, get good at it, just pick up a stick bow.
Yeah.
Start getting efficient with that, because then when you pick your compound up, it is literally like picking up a gun. You feel like having sights and a kisser button and a trigger release compared to a stick and string and fingers.
Dude, it's
crazy.
It's amazing, like all the steps. A couple extra ones I feel like, shooting a traditional, that when you're cognizant of having all those in place, just how, you follow through each time and getting that arrow where you're looking at downrange.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's like not a better feeling, right, than when
Yeah.
you're like dialed in and you're hitting good, and you start clinking some arrows together at some farther distances. You just really just like, man, this is awesome. It is a great feeling.
Well, there are some better feelings, but
Killing a deer is one.
I don't know, man. It's up there.
And then a stack of foam layers.
I love watching that arrow fly, which with the compound, you know, the arrow goes so fast. But you start doing 30 yards, 40 yards
Oh, yeah, man.
out in the backyard, and you're watching that arrow just like loft in there and then drop right into the bullseye. It is so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I'm shooting a tab now. I've always shot fingers, like with like a leather finger glove or something like that. And
Leatherfinger is, I feel like that's like a villain from a movie or something.
leather finger. But yeah, going to the tab, I liked it a lot. I got a calf hair tab from Vista, and it definitely helped me, you know, with I definitely noticed the difference in that. It's just you feel no
Drag.
wear and tear on your fingers or drag whatsoever. It's nice. I do
Yeah.
it.
The
I don't
times
even know
of-
what that tab, what does that even consist of?
It's mostly just like a couple layers of leather, sometimes one, and it's usually like a thicker piece of leather. Sometimes it's like mine's actual like calf hair on top of a piece of leather,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got like a hole in it. I believe you stick your middle finger through the hole, and then the way you hold it, it's just like a sheet of leather over your fingers, and it's got a notch cut out if you shoot a split finger. You just wrap that around your string, and you just basically like if you were to take like a tab of leather and hold it in your hand when you go to shoot the bow, and it just for me it just feels like the string rolls off for a smoother release.
You're
No.
still using your fingers and you're releasing with your fingers.
Yep.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah, they just say like, you know, that string pulls your fingers kind of like fat at the
Mhm.
end of them, and then the string has to roll off of that. It's a more of a cleaner, like the string just
Release.
comes off of a flat edge versus your
It's probably more consistent. than-
rounded. Yeah,
I
that's what
found
they
it
say.
to be. I definitely recommend someone trying it if they're thinking about it. You know, if
Yeah.
they're shooting with a glove.
I should try. I just don't want to have to carry anything else out there.
Mhm.
I just go with the fingers.
that's how I am. The times when I actually do pull my trad bow down to shoot it, I just go bare fingers.
Yeah, if you're shooting a lot, like I pretty
Why
much
church it up, Dirt?
yeah. If I'm shooting a lot and you don't feel any wear from the string on your fingers, or you won't get sore or whatever, because most times I get caught up wanting to shoot and not go in until I'm starting to get tired and I'm flinging them all over the place.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, stop, dickhead.
Right.
Just gonna get frustrated.
Yeah, my bow, as I was starting to say, is a 40-pound longbow, and I shoot a 400 spined. It's a Carbon Express Heritage arrow with a 115. Well, it's a 15 grain insert with a 100 grain weight, the gold tip weights. And what those gold tip weights are is they fit the interior diameter of your shaft, and they have this long Allen wrench that screws up. You pull your nock, and then you screw these into the back of your insert, and you can add and take weight away, whatever you want, to adjust your FOC. And they're awesome. It's way
Yeah.
easier, I think, than dicking around with trying to figure out what weighted insert you want and put that in, and then heaven forbid it doesn't shoot the way you want it to. Then what? You got to try to heat them up and get them out of there and get different ones in. Or if you ever want to change the weight, or if you want to change broadheads, like your situation,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It helped you because your field tips that you had already had were a different weight than the broadheads that you wanted to shoot, right? And your arrow was already tuned for that.
Yeah.
So instead of having to mess around with that, you were able to just add some weight in there and make it all weigh the exact same.
Yep. Yeah. Arrow with a 200 grain field tip practicing. All I could find were 160 Zwickies, so I slapped it in there and just added 40 grains with that system in through the nock and wrenched it down. Then I got my 200 grains back.
Yeah.
Well, that's a better system because with carbon arrows, I mean they might make glues where you can pull an insert out, but
It's not
you
good.
putting heat on a carbon shaft and you're gonna try to pull an insert out and tell me you're not, like,
You're going to mess with
Messing
the
with-
integrity of the arrow.
I mean
right?
that carbon fiber's all glued together anyways.
I found that out
So-
the hard way on one.
Right. So you're basically cutting your arrow at that point to get
Right.
the insert out.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool system. Somebody put some
It
thought
is.
into
I
that.
love it. So yeah, I got a 15 grain insert, 100 grains of weight, and then a 175 grain Simmons Tiger Shark broadhead. So about 290 grains, 400 spined arrow, and a 40-pound bow. And when it hits that block target, I mean, it rocks it
Yeah.
pretty good. I'm very confident that it'll kill a deer, and I'm gonna aggressively try for the next couple days. Really, actually, we're running pretty close to the end of October, because when the month of November hits, I'm not gonna be messing around with it anymore. I'm going to a tree stand and gonna be hunting with my compound. So give it a couple more days here. I almost had it done. I don't know if I told you or who
Yeah,
I was telling you. I went out yesterday and I had 2 doe coming in that they came from behind me where I wouldn't have thought they would have came. And I had been standing there motionless for an hour. I'm hunting on the ground. I'm just standing behind a pile of brush. There's a game trail, 15 yards right out in front of me. And, of course, I had an itch on my nose. And I'm waiting like 5 minutes, it's not going away. And I'm like, all right, finally I'm just going to scratch it, So I kind of like look around a little bit, but I'm in thick stuff. And so I slowly reach up to itch my nose, and then right out of the corner of my eye, 2 whitetails go up and take off. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. They were coming right in. So if I hadn't got the itch on my nose, I might have had an opportunity. But I'm going to give it hell for a couple more days, hunting off the ground with the longbow. And then you know what I like about it too? It's really changed up the style of my hunting. And I know it's like a low opportunity chance, so there's no way I'm going to try to go to any of like my prime rut spots
Right.
or go hunt any of my tree stands. I'm not comfortable shooting from that height out of a tree with that bow. So I leave all my good spots fresh for the month of November, which, we're just talking about the lull. I mean, some guys say it don't exist. I don't know where you stand on it, but I think in pressured areas, there's like deer button down pretty hard.
It's the shock I think they get with the human scent and intrusion in the woods.
Absolutely.
They're not used to it.
I don't
And
think
there's-
there's a lull in deer
No, it's-
activity, though.
it's
I
just
think
change
it's
in
just
pressure.
a lull in hunters being able to
I think there is.
adjust.
It's funny.
Yeah, well, the deer change because
They don't
they're
move
getting
as
that.
much.
Right.
Move
They're
your
getting that pressure.
microphone in just a little bit.
we had a deer in the backyard. We're sitting there finishing up breakfast Sunday
Sweet.
morning, and Jody and I were looking out back into the woods, and I just caught an image of a doe walking through, and she was way back there, maybe like 60, 70 yards, just walking through, and it was a late breakfast. It was like 11:30 in the morning.
That's lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
that's
lunch.
lunch.
yeah, we're
You dinks.
we're pretty bad. And we're just in there watching it, and it had all morning, and some hard-on across the street, 5 houses down, just went full auto with his pistol, just shooting, just pistol
Right.
practice, right at that specific moment. And that deer heard that first shot he took, then maybe half a second, 2 seconds in between, she had her head up, then the guy just started going nuts down the road shooting, and she bolted out of there,
Yeah,
gone instantly. Like instantly picked that up and was gone.
right.
But it was
Well, bucks too. I mean, this time of year, they're just not going to move. They're not going to move until it's dark.
Yeah.
If
I
they
think-
do, that's not far. I mean, they might stand up, but there's access to food. There's not cold temperatures. They don't need to feed as much.
Right. They go nocturnal for a little while,
Especially
I
the
think.
mature ones, I think.
But if
Yeah.
you can't tell me that there's just this lull period where deer don't move, because if you get a cold front in the 3rd week of October, those deer are moving their ass off.
They're
it's that
moved, they're just
simple.
gone nocturnal a lot of times.
I think I mean, we were just down in Ohio, and I think the only reason why we did not see more deer is because it was 80.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If it would have been 50, I'm sure we would have seen a lot more deer.
I bet you if that was up here and we had that weather, that probably we'd have a lot more of us not seeing any deer on sits.
Right.
do you feel like moving when it's 80?
No. Never. Right. Move into the cooler to grab another beer.
Yeah, the deer go through a change.
I think so. They recognize it's
And it's-
so
it's-
much different where there's managed farms and big spaces and big woods where the deer aren't getting
It's like
pestered.
a science experiment.
But like
you know?
small properties, if you're gonna tell me that there's not a lull,
I don't think there is.
It's
You're
it's not
crazy.
something that just happens. It's not like all of a sudden it's in the chemistry of the deer.
Oh,
They're going to a
nope,
lull.
it's lull time, guys. I'm
Right.
gonna go lie down for
It's,
2
I
weeks.
think
not
it
that.
has to do with
still
hunting
researching.
pressure. I
Yeah.
think it has to do with the pressure they get in the woods.
it is. I think they respond to that and they hunker down and they don't move as freely or as much.
And I mean, I wouldn't doubt that there's something to do with how they go through their changes. They're breaking up from their bachelor groups and stuff like that. There's a lot of changes that happen in that short period over a couple months with the deer.
Right.
And then plus you add it like 100,000 hunters are now out in the woods trying to shoot them every chance they get.
Right.
You know, so it's.
I'm just not a. I'm not a believer. I don't like the term.
Well, you're not gonna
You
tell.
can change the
so-
term. Just make up
Yeah.
a new one and I'll go with it.
Dry spell.
That's fine. Dry spell. There you go.
I liked your location.
Dude, it's way harder
Yeah.
to kill a deer middle of October than it is beginning of November.
Yeah.
Way harder.
Well,
Well, when the
Well,
chase
well,
gets on,
it's-
you're starting to talk about you're going to the chase
right.
then.
I mean, you tell me if you make it the middle of October to the beginning of October, I'm gonna say no. It's not that different. But the beginning of November, yeah, they're rutting like crazy. Your grunt call actually works. You know, it's totally different. So, 2 weeks after the lull period is the most exciting time to be in the woods as a whitetail hunter. At the
It's because you're so beaten up from the lull.
yeah, right.
I think deer
This is so exciting.
I think deer recognize too that winter's coming and the rut's coming, and they respond by hunkering down and not exerting any unnecessary energy that they don't have to
Yeah.
in preparation for a couple brutal weeks, a brutal month of November
that
for
makes
them.
sense.
I don't know. Every other study says that deer movement only just increases throughout the whole
I
month
think-
of October. So
I just think it's so different where on small properties and pressured areas.
No, I agree with the point that you said about the deer activity increasing, but I think that they're increasing in different areas.
Yeah.
I think that they're increasing their activity is increased, but at the time that they're moving, it's going to be after dark or earlier in the morning.
I mean, it'd be dumb for me to argue saying that pressure doesn't change deer
can't.
habits,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, like, to say there is this period of the lull where the deer just shut down.
So
is-
I'll give you this. I think Mark and Terry Drury talking about the lull is bullshit.
right. Those guys don't even
Go get off a field edge
right
and go get into a bedding area or do something.
right.
You
But-
cannot compare the
but-
breweries or people with managed units
Right.
to anybody
For them,
else.
to
Normal
those guys
people.
to talk about the lull, I think is horse shit. But for a guy that's hunting a 15-acre parcel with two 10-acre parcels on each side that have two guys hunting those, the lull very much does exist. Because those deer are scared shitless.
It's just he was shittily overpressured his woods for the first.
Even if he doesn't go in there, all it takes is one of those guys walking through tracking a deer.
Yeah, well, I guess.
There is a huge human influx the month of October, and the deer respond by
Right. Well, I guess, yeah, if I go sit my same tree stand every day for the first week of November, I could cause a November lull by that.
We got more scent in the
No.
woods floating around, so
Yeah, I mean, the lull is real, but from what people's ideas of why it happens, I think it is a misconception. You know, it's like a magical thing. But it has it's a combination of different things.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's
And
very regional.
People
Not even
being-
regional.
Well, it's situational based. You know, if the deer are up in northern Michigan in a square mile that nobody's ever walked in,
Yes.
I highly doubt that their activity changes at all in the end of October.
Right.
You know, I could be wrong, but that's just what my hypothesis is on that. You know, it's the pressure,
Yeah.
and it might have to do like what you said. They're going in the rut. They're kind of storing some of their energy, their body fat. They're trying to build up their fat because they don't. I mean, these bucks, they basically don't eat for a month. You know, a few weeks. All they do is run chasing does.
My
So, I mean, it's
whole idea where the lull came from is people set their stands the first week of October, caught the deer off guard, saw a lot of deer. They continue to sit that stand.
They don't change their
They
behavior,
don't change
their tactics.
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So the end of October, their stand's completely blown out because they're not adjusting their practices at all. They're sitting there. I'm not seeing any deer. Well, it's the lull. Well, getting into November, the rut's happening, chasing's happening. They see deer running through their shit because they
See,
just
there was a
happen to be
lull.
in the right spot because every deer's just jacked up on testosterone now. So now there's an October lull. You didn't adjust for the hunting. You put too much
Situation.
pressure on your stand too early in the season, and you didn't adjust at all. If you went and sat 100 yards over, probably would have saw the deer because they had already figured out where he was.
Well,
They're
The deer
scared.
are still moving. They still have to eat. They still have to drink. They don't just shut off. It doesn't
So what
make
you're
sense to
saying,
me.
you just think it's a cop out,
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's a lazy
An
hunter
excuse.
cop out.
oh, I think you're wrong.
They have tunnels.
I've
They
had
go underground.
I've had a trail camera
like
up.
the Viet Cong of northern Michigan.
I've had a trail camera up on the food plot since March. Okay. All through the summer, I got a lot of photos.
Yeah.
Late September, October hit, beginning of October, mid-October, hardly any photos. Little bit of nighttime activity. Now that we're getting into the last week of October, tenfold. I haven't hunted that stand once. I've
Oh.
gone there one time the month of
What's in
October
the
to pull
food
that
plot?
card.
What
Brassica and oats.
was there something for like a 2-week period that didn't taste good?
Is there anybody else hunting in the
Not
area?
at all.
Right?
Not on your
Not
property.
Not supposed to be, but let's be honest. I mean, anybody that's hunting a small
Oh, yeah.
property, there's other people going on there. You know,
Oh yeah.
you don't have control. You're not there all the time unless you live there and you are a Nazi about,
Yeah.
posting every tree, having a fence. People are going to trespass. It's going to happen. And it only takes one guy going through there to screw the whole thing up for you. So even if you're not putting pressure on your stands, I just think when the end of October hits, that daylight activity increases heavily.
Oh, yeah, it's the rut.
It was 11:30 when I saw that one.
The one of the biggest deer that we saw down in Ohio in the lull was at basically lunchtime. Guy saw a 140-inch deer walk right through. But
Yeah, that deer probably got kicked up out of his bed for some reason.
he said it
don't you
was
think?
just leisurely walking
That
around.
area is gnarly. I doubt anybody else was in that block than us because I highly doubt that it's even. I mean, it's possible, but to go farther north of where we were sitting
Yeah.
would be brutal, absolutely brutal. So
Big deer get big by avoiding people. They figure out the patterns of people and adjust their schedule to it.
and it was, what was it, 8:30 or 9 o'clock when I saw that one that was like in the 130s, maybe touching 140.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little later in the afternoon.
When people are leaving the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, yours
just-
could have been more of a deer getting kicked up by people walking out, but
No,
we
I
weren't
think I
hunting.
bumped him when I went up to the stand because I went and had breakfast with Jason and I walked out after light. I crept out. I took my time, but I pushed a couple deer from bedding and real thick stuff, and then I set up in that stand. And it was like an hour and a half later. I heard a little bit of walking up the ridge from where I was at. I heard something moving. It sounded like a deer, and against my better judgment, I put a couple of grunt calls out, and that buck worked his way down towards me within 18 yards. So I don't think that he was bumped at all. I'm bordering up on private.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I just don't think it was a bump
So
situation.
he's just cruising.
I think he actually was just getting up from his bed, maybe like you said, cruising, milling around a little bit. He definitely didn't win me. He was coming from the opposite direction from where my wind was blowing. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's a big time decrease in daylight activity in deer in general in pressured areas, the middle to the.
Well, another thing, I
Middle
guess,
of
just to
October.
put in there another hypothesis to this lull situation, is towards the after the first couple weeks of October, normally you'll get some type of cold front in the beginning of October. Then you hit that Indian summer. It happens almost every
think
year.
that's
Towards
part-
the end of
Right.
October, you're
This
getting
is-
that heat, and the deer kind of they're going back into
Yeah, well, they have their winter coat on.
they can't sweat. So a lot of times in summer you're not gonna see them till right at dark or whatever.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch, this was like Iraqi summer. So hot.
It was
too
not
bad.
hot this
Yeah.
summer.
I mean, The fall.
Oh yeah.
It was a warm
yeah,
fall.
October,
Yeah.
it's been in the 70s and even 80s.
We had better summer weather in the fall than we have had all summer.
Yeah, our first cold front just hit today. We actually have a fire going in the studio here for the first time while we're recording.
I was
think.
walking on ice this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was ice in my truck. But
Good.
The rooftop
Nice.
of the
Yeah, this morning would have been awesome to go. Well, the lull's over, I'll say that. 'Cause
Whatever.
because it never existed.
Something can't stop if it
Here
never
in
started.
imagination land.
I just think that it's very much, it's very,
This is good stuff.
it very much regionally differs, big time. I would say, yeah, unpressured deer in their natural habitat, left not bothered by humans. Yeah, very much all the month of October, activity is going to increase. But I think that just that little bit of a human presence in and out of the woods, deer recognize that instantly, and they're like, nope, not going anywhere until it's dark.
We
man."
should settle this
especially mature deer.
once and for all. You should have the listeners comment, and we'll have a vote, and we'll decide if there's really a lull or not.
We're gonna
Whatever the answer is, Drew's gonna have to accept
And
it.
I will argue with
I will
everybody.
certainly say that is not going to
Are we
be
gonna
a
bury?
good.
We're gonna bury the lull. We're gonna bury it.
Well, it's always going to be a debate. But I heard a guy on a podcast yesterday, I thought, just giving some terrible, terrible advice. And he hunts essentially a managed farm.
Give us an example of this terrible advice.
Well, he's telling guys, oh, I don't care if you have a small property or whatnot. The deer are there. You just got to find them. You got to get aggressive. And I'm thinking,
You get a small property, you might not have deer on your property at all.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
No, I just thought it was terrible advice. It's like, you got to get in there. You got to get aggressive. The deer are there. You just got to look in different places,
I agree
Yeah,
about
like
changing it
public
up.
land.
Look
I
under,
agree, change it up.
Stay
What
off
you're
your
doing is not
property.
working.
under
Right.
rocks.
Well, that's just the biggest thing that people do is overhunt their, their
I know
small
so many
properties.
people,
And like
they've
I
got
said,
one or two stands, and that's all they sit
Right.
all year long.
Right.
You get lucky in the rut because they're chasing. They're not thinking about anything else but breeding.
So I just think that it varies big time from area to area. But I think in pressured spots, southern Michigan, for sure, I believe.
I mean,
in the October
you
lull,
can't argue pressure changes deer movement,
Right.
but I
which
mean,
happens at the same time every year.
right because people flood the woods in October.
Right.
So it's like the new pitch, rut, making hunting great again. After the lull.
I mean, I guess you and I have a couple pieces of private land that we've been saving, and tomorrow morning's the first time I'm gonna go sit out mine because we got the cold front, and
Right. Because you didn't want to go in there on the lull.
I
and
didn't
have a
want to lull it. Oh God, no.
low opportunity of capitalizing on your.
Oh, man, it's horrible.
No, but it also is adjacent to marsh, and I was kind of waiting for duck hunters to start hitting the marsh to push the deer into.
Mornings
Yeah,
on my camera have been off the chain.
yeah.
Ducks were going nuts last night
I
out.
think I've seen better
out
movement
there.
in the morning than afternoon, too.
I pulled a camera card yesterday. 75% of the movement was in the morning.
So I'm hoping there's some duck hunters out in the marsh tomorrow. And
Yeah,
Kinda-
get out there before they bust the deer out of there and
Yeah.
kick them over to you. Those guys go out pretty early, right?
Yeah.
Russ, what time duck hunters go out?
Time 7:30ish.
yeah, I'm getting up at 4. So
But
I'll
what
be
time
up
are guys
before-
like heading out into the marsh?
5:30.
By him, probably at about 6.
6?
Oh.
It's maybe 6:30.
late risers?
I mean, if you're set up by 4:30, 5 o'clock in your stand, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be 6 by the time I'm sitting in my stand, but
But it's not light until what, 7:15, 7:10?
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
about
so I'll
that.
have an hour, at
Yeah.
least an hour.
That'll be good.
That's good.
I'll be out there about 5:45 by the time I'm gonna hunt on my lone wolf, so it'll take me 10-15 minutes to set up. And
Good thing you're not Jason.
yeah, Jason, one of the guys that went to Ohio with us, we had this group text message going on. And it's like, oh, how are you getting with your lone wolf? Because this is our first season with those stands, and we've been, we made some modifications, done some stuff, honed our system.
Let's do this. We're starting to go into a whole nother topic that I want to do a whole nother episode in this. Let's wrap the lull up. Let's wrap this episode up. Let's take a quick break. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk some mobile hunting and some rut hunting.
Right,
Right on.
the lull
All right.
isn't real.
Final
It may
thoughts.
be real.
Final thoughts.
Final reflection. I would like to hear your overview of our conversation, how you felt before and how you feel now. Go.
Well, what, I mean the whole conversation or when I walked
I
in?
just
The trad stuff?
No,
I've
no,
got
no,
no
no,
clue
no.
about that.
I wanna talk- I'm just,
We'll fill you in.
we're just gonna reflect on the lull. And
The law, I don't think that it's something in the deer. Like no matter where they're at, they're going to a lull. I don't believe that. I believe it has to do with a lot of different outside stimuluses in their environment as far as hunters, and it could have to do with that kind of hunkering down, trying to save all their, get as fatty as they can for the winter,
Right.
and for the rut. I think that there's a dip in deer activity that you're going to notice during daylight hours in a lot of areas, especially where there's hunters present. I would say primarily where there's hunter presence, but yeah, I mean to say that there's just a lull and it's pre-programmed these deer's behaviors, I don't believe in that.
I would agree with what you said. I feel like your resolution stimulated me,
I hope you're stimulated.
and
Zipper burns.
how do you feel about it? You're kind of our greener
I am.
deer hunter here on the show, even though you got the nicest gear.
You look
Well,
so nice.
Oh, thank you. Well, deer, they're an animal, so they got primal instincts. They got, patterns that they follow. That's in their, in their core or whatever. but-
Genetics, DNA.
Yeah, genetics.
Yeah.
I think a combination of that, and then I'm kind of new to the whole lull thing or whatever, or the whole debate. But I would think, like one of you guys were saying, at that time of year, you're going to get more guys in the woods. You're going to get more scent, more disturbances instead of, different scents, disturbances, activity coming in from 5 points. You're going to get all that stuff coming in at 160 points into the woods, stirring everything up, pressuring, directing the flow, directing them to bed down or hide out. That's one theory that I kind of hypothesize.
I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I won't argue that pressure changes deer habitat, but to think there's this mythical period where deer just stop moving.
Yeah.
I think we're all in
won't buy
agreement.
it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hand him your headset. He hasn't said anything. All you got to do is
just say something, Russ.
give
You
him
gonna-
that. Don't
you
let
gonna-
him shake you off.
You're going to
Just give
open that
him
mouth and words are going to
Right.
fall out.
Put
boy.
it on real quick. I want your reflection on what we're talking about here.
You are so educated
smart
in your
man.
deer stuff.
Turn it around.
Group of letters is a word. Group of words sentence.
You're asking about the lull.
We're talking
What's your
about
take
hunting
on the lull?
mid-October and deer activity.
You can hear yourself in these things.
Yeah, it's wild.
It
Takes
messes
a
you up
second.
for a minute.
This is our good buddy, Mr. Russ,
Hi, Mr.
sitting in
Russ.
with us today.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Russ.
Commanding voice.
What was your question?
Well, I was asking you to reflect on what we were saying. I know you're sitting over there just grinding your teeth, having some big boisterous opinion, keeping to yourself, and I'm interested to hear it.
Well, that's what I like to do, is to keep to myself.
You're kind of like a deer in the headlights right now.
A little bit.
You don't hunt in October, do you? You said to me a long time ago, you go, I don't hunt in October. That's silly.
No, I never hunt in October. I've set out twice so far this year. That's it.
Well, then you hunted in October.
It was kind of, I took my friend Drew out one day, and
There you
then
go.
another day
To that
I just
secret spot.
took my nephew out. So, yeah.
He did? Oh,
We didn't find it, though.
that really, really sucks. Sorry about that.
I'm not too bummed about it. It was just more about getting out to a new spot with Drew and checking it out. It wasn't about even killing anything, let alone seeing anything.
Well, still.
Drew wanted to try his new standout, so
All right.
I didn't hear him fall out of the tree, so that was a good morning.
No, he's still here.
I don't know. I've never.
You shot a deer?
Yeah, I shot a deer
You
opening
didn't
morning.
find it?
Shoulder, what do you think you hit?
At first, I thought I hit a tree because I've never heard that broadhead.
Probably hit the shoulder. I did that last season.
But
I
I'm
lost one.
I'm shooting that crossbow though, and I would have thought it would have went
Ooh,
right
that should
through.
go through with the crossbow.
43 yards.
Crossbow, Russ?
Yeah. Yep.
Russ is,
Okay.
Yeah,
Russ is one of the crossbow hunters that I commend because he bow hunted for a long time. Dude's just not an archer.
No.
So I'd
And it just
rather
ain't gonna happen if it hasn't happened by now. It's not
I'd
gonna
rather
happen.
see him out there with the crossbow. But goddamn, you're wounding your crossbow now. What the hell?
There are lots of
You just
barns
stick to
out
gun
there
hunting.
safe.
I'm sure he's running around just fine.
with a bolt in his shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get him.
Was he like
And
predator?
if it's
up
over
in
at the
tree?
area that I'm hunting,
Well,
too,
you won't
I
tell
might shoot him.
you won't tell me exactly where you're at, so I don't know if
Me?
it's close to where you're at up there.
I'll tell you one. The other one I was sworn to secrecy. The old man gave me the coordinates. When I told him I was gonna bring a friend there, he gave me the look. I said, "Oh, I can't." I said, "I didn't know."
On public land?
Yeah, because he
Oh.
gave me some little honey holes.
Hey,
He
let's
lives right there.
let's wrap on this real quick. So, what's your final thought on it, hunting? I mean, you kind of in agreement with what we're saying too?
I think that probably mid-October, there could possibly be a lull, maybe for a 7 to 10 day period.
Felonious.
This is but I agree with all you guys. The reason behind it is not because the deer don't want to move. It's not because the deer don't want to feed. They don't, it's not that they don't want to get to water. It's because they're spooked. First 2 weeks of bow season, you got well, not you guys. Some of you guys went out, but a lot of diehards.
What do you mean, you guys?
Well, you got a lot of diehards out there. Their first 2 weeks.
I didn't think you were gonna say diehards.
Well, diehards are going out October 1st because it's opening day. They shaved 2 weeks before. Now they got their beard for October.
Get the
They're big
Eberhard
deer hunters.
trim system going, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they probably slow down a little bit, but they slow down because of us. If you're out in the woods, you're spreading scent. They're going to slow down for a little bit. But as soon as this cold temp hits, and it just hit not too long ago here.
Just happened.
Yeah. Boom. It's the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks whenever
That's it.
the prime rut starts then.
And if you stayed out of your spots
Oh, yeah.
for
if you-
and let everybody else increase that pressure through the month of October, and you go to different spots on state land, stay out of your historical good spots until the month of November, boom, you're gonna have a deer influx.
My most favorite time to hunt is the first week of November, because maybe even second week of November, because I'll hunt state land. But when I hunt any state land, I don't hunt the deer. I hunt the people. I've been telling you guys this for years. You got state land right next to your parents'
That
place.
makes sense.
Most
I don't-
I'm
dangerous
trying to do
game.
the same thing.
I don't hunt the deer. You hunt the people. So the first 2-3 weeks of October, I know where everybody's vehicles are parked. I've already went out walking with an orange hat and a 22, pretending like I'm squirrel hunting or whatever. But I'm scouting. I know where everybody's tree stand is at. I know the wind directions. There's a million different spots to park. I start to recognize people's vehicles. I'm hunting the people. I'm not hunting the deer.
It was busy last night.
It was real busy.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting busier, but what'll happen here in the next 2 weeks here, people will start to slow down a little bit because nobody wants to shoot and wound a deer a week before gun opener. They're gonna think, okay, hey, let's throw some bait out, maybe move my stand a little bit,
Right.
and then gun opener is right around the corner.
Sure.
So a lull, maybe this past week, maybe, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Words from a wise man.
Yeah, you did great. You nailed that like a split
Yeah.
hog.
Mm-hmm.
I read a book once.
Forgot half of it.
Well, yeah, you
It's a
got
little train that could.
you got shots fired in the woods now because our small game
Oh, yeah.
starts.
Oh yeah,
Well,
like
it's
he just
been
said,
started
you
a
know?
while ago.
And that's just a perfect thing of what we were just talking about. You know,
Opening day,
we're
boom.
talking about guys are saying, "Oh, well, small properties or public land." He's walking through your spot at noon on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Exactly at noon to 2 o'clock when nobody's there.
Right.
Yep.
Because I
So
already know where you're at. I know where your trucks are. So
Dude, I went out last night and
you can't avoid human pressure in
Not in this area, at
not
least.
no, and
Yeah,
in like I think PA, New York, all those spots.
I checked one access site. It was loaded with cars. I checked the next one further down the road. Couldn't find a parking spot. Went to the last one. There's one truck there. I went out, walked back there for a bit, and went in, a few hundred yards off in from where I walked, and sat down with the recurve. And just before sunset, I think the sun it was starting to get dark in there. I hear someone talking, and it sounded like a guy he's out there jogging with his dog, just jogging through the woods, pretty much. It's public land, and that was definitely a.
Was he yelling out, Nick?
He was wearing a red hooded sweatshirt, like just out there, just going for a hike. But he had every right to. Unfortunately, the timing was just bad.
Yeah, that's what you have to deal with. I've had a lot of people just in Ohio. My first hunt in Ohio, I had some kid at 8:30 walk in on me looking around for trees to set up. I don't even think he had a tree stand.
I gave him that phone to do a story on Instagram. It's not. I don't think you ever did a story on Instagram by looking at your face.
Not a storyteller.
And he doesn't believe in the lull.
Just hold that button and it'll take a video.
Oh, you have to hold it down.
Yeah.
The center.
Isn't that other video thing working there?
Just don't worry about it. It's okay. I'll show you after.
Let me
I just figured it out not too long ago.
It's okay. It's like
I kept
completely.
on
Let's
taking
wrap
pictures.
this up.
wrap it up.
This is getting too much.
It sounds like we were all in pretty good agreement about what it is. There's no biological lull.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
It's just area to area based on pressure and how deer react to it. And their natural reaction is, I'm just going to sit tight here. I'm not starving to death. There's plenty of food after dark. And they're going to watch people walk in and out of the woods. And they're going to, just like you are, those deer are watching
hunting the
everybody
hunters.
coming in and out of those woods. Don't kid yourself for a second. If you don't think that deer are watching you going in and out of the woods, man, it is very unlikely.
If there's a lull, it's because they're moving at noon, they're moving at 10 o'clock at night, and they're moving at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I bet you them deer are having a podcast about us right now.
Yeah, clicking hooves.
Live feed.
Clicking us.
Fine feed, do it Instagram stories.
They know how to do it.
Awesome. All right, let's wrap this bastard up.
All right.
Thanks everybody for listening. Speaking of Instagram, we're on Instagram at deerhunter_podcast. Can find everybody that helps out with the show there. We put all our hunting content up. Most of the hunting show content goes to Instagram. We stay away a little bit from. I mean, we use the Facebook a lot. But not nearly as active with it. Just getting away with it. There's just a lot of
Out with the old
a lot of
info now.
nonsense on there.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll try to put most of our adventures on Instagram.
But it does lend itself to Facebook is a little more user friendly for sharing and attaching links and things like that, where Instagram's not that great for it. But we're on both of them. Deer Hunter Podcast on Facebook, deerhunter_podcast on Instagram, and then go to our new website and check that out. All the links for the show are there. Some photos of the show, the studio. That's just simply deerhunterpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and good luck deer hunting now that the lull's over and we're getting into the rut.